Hey guys, welcome to White Girl Friends English. This is Josh and Amber, and today we're going to talk about 4 ways that you can know the difference between acceptable English grammar and proper English grammar. Because honestly, this is not as easy as it looks. Being a language learner is really difficult because if you are just trying to get free stuff, if don't have the funds or the ability to pay for a teacher, then you are going to the internet more than likely looking for all the free content. The problem is so much of that content, it just covers all kinds of different things and it's not in any kind of order. And there's just tons and tons and tons of stuff out there. And all you have to know is to know which one's good, right? You just need to know which one's effective for what you need to learn. But how do you know what's out there for written grammar? What's out there for acceptable grammar? What's out there for which region of English? There's a lot to sort through just to know what is going to be quality for you. And you might end up wasting a lot of time, to be honest. However, if that is something that you still need to do, we've got some ideas to help you know what is going to be proper grammar for writing English and what is going to be acceptable grammar for speaking and communicating.
Yeah, when I was in China and I was learning Chinese, it was really hard for me to know what I was learning in a book was useful or not when I was speaking to my friend. And so sometimes when I was learning those two parts, it was really hard to see how they fit together because I would learn something from a 20-year-old book that's for practicing grammar, and I would get kind of funny looks when I would actually try to talk to a person in Chinese. I think they thought I was just being really old, like maybe I sounded almost like their parents because I was studying 20-year-old Chinese, not current Chinese.
Yes. So you could have traveled back in time and been fine, right? Yeah. Is that the idea?
Yeah, right.
But how do you know? And so this is geared for intermediate speakers of English, people they're at the point. When you're a beginner, you're really focusing on just basics. You're focusing on subject, verb, object. You're focusing on beginning vocabulary. What do I call the food that I eat? Okay. But once you get to that high beginner, low intermediate level, it's time to start transforming the way you study. You can't just memorize flashcards anymore. You've got to start getting into using the language and learning from using that language, which means you've got to be building memory hooks. You've got to be learning things dynamically, and you've got to be able to say what you need to say in multiple ways, whether you use synonyms, whether you're using different types of acceptable grammar. If you're going to write something as a journal article, that's going to look very different than how you're going to share it with a friend, which would look, again, very different than how you would present it at work. So it is very important to learn all these different things in order to become fluent in English.
Yeah, and so the point of this video is to not give you all the rules to be acceptable or proper in our context, but rather it's to give you the tools to figure out how to be acceptable in the context that you guys are looking for.
Looking to communicate in, really.
Yeah.
So here you go, 4 ways to do that.
So way number 1 for you guys to learn what's acceptable and what's proper in English is to listen to the people around you. So a lot of times we can learn a lot just by stopping and listening, really listening to the people around us and how they're communicating to each other.
If you're lucky enough to live in the culture that you're trying to learn the language of, right?
Right.
Because, that was helpful for us as we lived there. If I was curious about how people said what I was studying that day, I could just go to the mall and listen. I could watch people and how they conversate at a tea shop. I could ask my students and listen to them talking within the break between classes. I was able to hear every day. I was able to just walk outside my door and hear how people act, how their paralanguage while they spoke to each other, the words they use, the idioms that they use. And you know what? I found that a lot of what I was learning in Mandarin was not actually helpful, unfortunately. But if you don't live in that culture, if you don't live in an English-speaking context, how can you study grammar? How can you get that extra input to know what to do?
We've come across that question countless times with our students, and the only answer is you have to create that environment. That no matter what it is, it could be written grammar or it could be spoken grammar, it could be grammar that's specific to like New Zealand or Britain. And the goal of it, how you actually do that, is you create an environment around yourself that you can actually learn for yourself the specifics of that grammar.
What that looks like is spending time every day only listening and taking in and speaking in English. Even if it's to yourself and you are just folding your laundry, you need to be doing that in English. What's most important, one of the most important skills in learning a language is to listen, though. You're not going to know how to form a word. You're not going to know what the difference between acceptable grammar and proper grammar is unless you are hearing it in a live context. Well, if you don't live there, then how can you do that? Look at YouTube. YouTube has people contributing from anywhere in the world. And so if you want to go work in America, well, you need to figure out where in America you want to work and then watch the vlogs of people that live there. Do not do movies and songs because they are already scripted. They are written by someone and sung by somebody else or acted by somebody else. It's extremely scripted for a point, and honestly, we don't really talk like that. You can see from this video, it's kind of hard to listen to because it's not exact and proper, and we try our best to give you as natural as we can, but it's natural with a goal. So even our videos, we have a goal to communicate a certain thing to you, but we're not scripting it. We're scripting an outline of, the main points, but all these extra words that we say, that's just natural language. Well, you need to find stuff like that to watch and watch it from different kinds of speakers. Don't just focus on one channel. You need to be looking at all kinds of channels from the same area that you really want to go to.
Yeah. Way number one was to listen. But way number two is to watch the other person that you're actually having a conversation with. Because a lot of times, if we just are intaking what people are talking and we're listening, and we're not actually seeing what people are doing with the information that we say, then we're missing out on a lot of valuable information.
Oh, yeah, for sure. What's one of the best things is people watching. It's harder to do, though, and it's a great skill to be able to do that within the context of conversation. So there are some things that Americans, we can only really speak to Americans here, but there are things that people do here when you start to say something that is probably proper grammar or just incorrect English to start with. And in our culture, it's a little rude to interrupt somebody, even if you say, hey, please just tell me if I say anything wrong. Well, that's a little hard to do when you're having a conversation. So if Josh is like, just tell me if I'm wrong, and he starts just saying all the wrong things in all the wrong way, I can't just hey, whoa, that is terrible. It's so rude. And so more likely than not, to keep you from losing face or to be embarrassed, I'm probably just going to wait till after the conversation, after all the other people around us are gone, and then just say, hey, just so you know, I think there were some things, if I remember, there were some things that you said that was wrong. But notice that can't happen right then.
Yeah. So the best way to do it is to actually see the other person's body language, to watch their body language when you're having a conversation. Because a lot of Americans they'll raise their eyebrows at you or kind of raise their hands. And their point is, I don't really know what you're saying, or I don't know what your point is with this. You listen to those around you and you watch the other person's body language.
So when you see that body language, when you see somebody just what? They're confused, they seem a little bit taken aback by something that you've said, it is appropriate for you, when you've seen that, you need to take the initiative and say, oh, I'm sorry, did I say something wrong? Or
did I say something weird?
Was I confusing there? If in your culture, if you're very uncomfortable with being very direct like that, it might be a good time for you to say, if you see that body language, it might be a good time for you to say, oh, I'm sorry, please tell me when I do something wrong, because I'm still learning English, and I would really enjoy your feedback. I'd really like it if you would tell me some things that I can do better. Okay, that is a very humble position to take. It is very soft. It's not too direct. That's a good way to do it.
The third way for you guys to learn the difference between acceptable grammar and proper grammar is to check the information that you are learning from those around you. So a lot of times we are learning things, but sometimes we just draw the wrong conclusion.
Yeah, all the time. So you need to be able to check your sources, what you're hearing from your teachers and what you're seeing in these books. You need to be checking your sources. You need to be listening to videos on YouTube from the people in the area you want to go to. I will just tell you straight up, if you are learning British English, do not listen to American YouTube videos for your listening practice. Though there are a lot of things we share, New Zealand and Australia and all of those places that speak English, there's a lot that we can share. it will confuse your grammar, to be honest, because there are a lot of things that we do slightly differently that's just a little off. And so if you take in all these different areas of English and you're using that for study purposes, you're going to get a little bit of confused grammar. You're going to get a little bit of confused vocabulary, and different contexts are going to be a little confusing for you. Specifically, one of the most important things is to make sure your books are up to date, because honestly, by the time a book is published on a living language like English, a lot of the content might already be starting to get a little dated. A good example of this is you are probably not going to find what the high school kids are saying now in a book, to be honest. You're not going to see sus or that's a cap. You're not going to see those things in a grammar book right now. But 10 years from now, you probably will. A good example is books in 95 said like capital E, and then hyphen and mail. I said email. Well, now it's all just one word, all lowercase, no hyphens, just an email. And we've made it a verb as well. I'll email you. Or
text messaging system was what they used to say, but now it's just texting.
Yeah, now it's also a verb, it's also a gerund, it's also a noun. So this is something that's really important. If you have a book that's 5 years old, it's probably already dated, though a lot of the fundamentals will be helpful in terms of subject, verb, object. The problem with that, even still, is that the vocabulary changes so quickly. And honestly, sometimes we experiment with grammar too. Marketing copy on the internet is really changing some grammar structures and how you punctuate things. And our grammar books currently are not up to date with that. And honestly, though, that's what we're intaking all the time, and that's what's eventually going to happen. But how can you capture that in a book? How you write is going to be different than how you speak. Speaking is changing all the time. And those books might be helpful for written English, but still you need to make sure that you're updated on how we use those words. So if you are in a work context in English and you're saying mail, you should probably stop doing that because that is no longer correct.
Yeah, it's going to be a little dated. So we talked about listening to those around you and how they use acceptable versus proper grammar. We talked about watching and getting input back from those people once you've spoken. And we've talked just now about
checking your sources.
Checking the information that you're actually getting. But the way number 4 for you guys to know the difference between proper grammar and acceptable grammar is for you to know what your goal is in the language learning. So where you're going, what you're going to do. If I am working on writing a book, then my goal for that time is going to be a little bit different than if it's, let's say, for talking to my friend down the street.
Yeah. So if you are going to, let's just say we're going to talk about an overview of last week. Okay. If you were in a meeting situation, the boss might look over at John and say, John, why don't you give us the week's summary? Or why don't you update us on what happened last week? Give a report, basically. But if you're walking with your friend in the park, you might just say something more like, so how'd last week go for you? Or what's new? What happened last week? Or what's been going on at your house? You know, things that are just so much more laid back. And so it is very important to know in which context and which situations you say certain things and how you say those things. Yeah. Because if I ask Josh, hey, give me the report, that's going to be a little weird.
Yeah, it'd be super weird. So it's really important for you guys to know where you're going to go and why you're going to learn the language, because it can determine what you learn as far as acceptable grammar or proper grammar.
All right. So if you guys want to watch more videos like this, let us know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, hit all the things. We do have a Facebook page. You can go on over there if you want shorter grammar lessons or more content that's free. Yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.